Well, good evening. Here we go. I hope you are all super excited for tonight's session together. I am. I've been incredibly excited waiting to get in and talk to you guys about this. It feels like it's been a long time coming, and I've been waiting to share some exciting news with you. I'm just having a quick look at the comments, and it's amazing to see so many people from around the world watching. A couple of people from the UK, so thank you guys for staying up late to join me tonight to watch that. Just so that you know, I'm coming live to you from my house here in England rather than the office in Austin, Texas, because of COVID and travel reasons. I can't be over there. That means one of two things could happen. Firstly, my internet might go down. It's because I live in Cornwall. So if it does, I apologize. I think we'll be all right. Number two, one of my children could come walking through that door any moment and we could have a BBC type moment where they come in. And if that happens, I think my wife will quickly run in after them, just like that BBC video, and drag them out. It's really cool. There are a lot of familiar faces in the chat, lots of new friends there as well. So great to see you all. Just so that you know, you can post questions anytime in the chat, and I will do my best to answer them. But for any that I miss, there are a ton of my friends and colleagues from MultiTracks in and around the comments that will be able to answer your questions and point you in the right direction as well. Couple of shout outs. Great to see Sem from Bradford in here. I can see Peter James. Peter, great to let's see if we can be clever and put this on the screen. Can we? Yeah, look, we can do that. Peter, great to see you. Thanks for joining us from Sydney. I'm not sure what time it is for you, probably early in the morning. So we've got some people watching from Alabama. Matt, great to see and can't wait to see what's new. We've got Mike, one of our beta testers, joining us from Orlando, Florida. We've got Craig joining us from Lossiemouth in Scotland. Craig, great to meet you again online. We've spent some time doing some Ableton training back in the day. We've got people watching from Mexico, which is amazing. Welcome to you. And I could go on and put up different names, but we've got a couple of others in here that are worth a shout out. We've got Christy from our team, Heads Up Sequentius. Probably should be doing this webinar and we'll do a better job than I'm going to do tonight. But Christy, thanks for joining. We've got Jesse from our team. We've got Ben from Nashville, Tennessee, one of our pad producers, and I'll introduce some of those guys a little bit later on. Core Sounds are here. Mike from Core Sounds, great. Glad you're excited, ready to join us. Lord Jesus, strong internet for Christian, please. Yeah, we should have started off with like a prayerful moment, praying for nice internet connection. We've got Noah from Plymouth, my hometown. Noah, great to see you. Joe is on here. Joe Morris is on here. Jonathan Taplin. Jonathan is a pastor somewhere in America, and I once met him on the sports team at Soul Survivor, a Christian UK festival where we served together. That's funny. That's going way back. We got Philip Edwards on here. Philip Edwards is the founder of MultiTracks, ultimately my boss. So that's just added a whole load of pressure to know that he's watching me tonight as well. And so on. We can go down through the list and see who else is here. But great for you to be joining us. Thank you. I want you to do one more thing in the chat before we get going. I would love you to type in the year, if you can remember. No, we're not going to talk about Harry and Meghan. I'm going to turn off the chat in a moment. I would love for you guys to write down the year that you first opened Playback. The year that you first had a look inside of Playback. Can you pop that down in the chat? I'm really interested to know who is our newest user of Playback and maybe who is our oldest, most senior, long-serving member of Playback as well. So why don't you start putting down that date in the chat for me? That would be amazing. I first opened Playback back in 2015. And I can remember I opened it to see if it was a comparable backup solution for the Ableton Live rig that I was running. Here come the dates. I can start to see them now. We've got 1980 from Oscar. I could quite believe that. We've got 2015, 2018, 2014. Well done, Christy. You might be winning so far. We've got 2017, 2013, 18, 17, 2020, 2019, 2018. Philip Edwards at 2013. I think you probably will win this one, Philip. So yeah, back to the story. I first opened it in 2015. I was a worship pastor in a church in England, a customer of MultiTracks.com, and I wanted to open up the app to see how it would stand as my redundancy or my backup solution to Ableton Live. I actually found that video this morning when I was trying to find out the date, and it was quite amusing to go back and look at how far Playback has come in that time and how much YouTube quality has come in that time as well. But here are some of the things that blew me away when I very first opened the app, and here are some of the key milestones leading up to today. Simply, the ability to play tracks from an iPad or an iPhone was pretty outstanding. I can remember looking at that going, oh my goodness, this actually plays tracks at an incredible high quality. The ability to arrange in just a few clicks. And if you've come from that DAW background of using something like Ableton Live, you'll appreciate how incredible that was. I could open up the app and go plus chorus, and it would drop a chorus right in where I pressed it. And it would add in the vocal cues and all the sections that I needed to be able to do that. Then, in the moment of leading worship, I could live reorder. I could repeat a section. I could jump to the bridge, and the vocal cue would direct me to the bridge or back to the chorus. And I was live reordering on my iPhone, and that was pretty mind-blowing. And I know today we all just expect that because that's what the app does. But when I first saw that, that was incredible. I can remember when multiple outputs were available inside of Playback. Multiple outputs, the ability to send multiple channels, not just a left and right coming out of the headphone socket to the sound desk. And we could send the bass players, the bass straight down, the bass player's DI all the way down there. It was pretty amazing. Then we could change key. Then we could change tempo. And more recently, the ability to send MIDI notes from Playback to things like Pro Presenter or lighting rigs or over to change the sounds on my Nord or drums. All of that stuff came as pretty mind-blowing technology. Then I could create and edit MIDI cues on the app directly, save setlists, save arrangements, and you get the idea. This was pretty incredible as this app opens. And then more recently, we've added cloud song section editing, the ability to upload a track to the cloud and then on the app put in all the sections that you need. And then the one that I love the most, production cues, where I can go into Playback into a song like Graves into Gardens and go, I want the MIDI cues for a 1-line Pro Presenter template or 2-line or 4-line. And when I do that, it automatically sends the MIDI notes that I need to control the template in Pro Presenter. Continually blows my mind. And I say all of that because even now I get asked the question from people that go, how do I set up Ableton? How should I use Ableton to do this? And honestly, my answer is I don't think you should, because for everything that you need, Playback can do that. And I know that's easy for me to say as somebody that sits here as part of the company, but it genuinely is true. There are a small few cases now where I think you might want to still lean into the power of something like Ableton. But for the simplicity and reliability of a track solution, I can't beat Playback. And it makes me feel a bit like a granddad, where I honestly wondered where these tools were back in my day when I was leading worship and where all this was. So I say all of that because I want you to understand that there are so many things inside of Playback that have gone ahead of something like Ableton Live, and today's feature is one of those. Today's feature is beyond the capabilities of anything that I've ever seen before, and when you start to walk through this whole journey with me, you're going to appreciate how the different parts of what I'm about to unveil play together. So I'm going to unveil not one, but 2 things tonight, and you're going to have to stay with me to the end of the webinar to see the second one, but let me unveil the first one for you now. I am so proud of the team here at MultiTracks.com. For you English football fans, I'm like the Gary Lineker of the team. I just hang around the 6-yard line and I tap that ball into the goal and take the credit. I get to do this. But let me play this video for you, and then I'm going to come back and dive into some of these features and explain how you might want to use them. So here is the latest feature that's coming to Playback.
Playback has reinvented the way ambient pads are used so you can always stay in the moment. Introducing Pad Player in Playback. Pad Player can be used as a fully functional pad machine. Instantly transition between keys and purchase ambient pads with the tap of a finger, or let it follow you. Simply build your set list, press play, 1, and Pad Player 2, will automatically follow your intro, song keys 2, and transitions. 3, 4. You can customize pad behavior, and even assign a unique ambient pad to each song in your setlist. Pad Player also introduces a powerful new collection of song-specific pads exclusive to Playback. These pads have been uniquely crafted to match the original style of a song, so that no matter where you go in your set, Pad Player will follow you. Song Section Pre-Roll is a powerful new tool for rehearsal, as well as jumping in and out of any moment in a song during service. Scroll to the beginning of any song section, press play, and a 1-bar count-in will be triggered as tracks fade in.
Instrumental 2, 3, 4.
With Pad Player, you can plan your services with excellence and have the freedom to go where you want in the moment. Explore Pad Player in Playback at MultiTracks.com.
So in that short reveal video from Jesse, he covered several new things inside of Playback, which we're going to dive into now, and I'm going to walk you through them. This is an incredible feat by our team, and like I said at the start, I'm so proud of what's happened here. We sat down with a few problems to solve. We wanted to see if we could help the way that transitions worked inside of Playback. Could we make smoother transitions between songs, between keys, between the way that you could move in and out of moments? Could we do something that went ahead of you to change key, to set up moments? Or could we allow you to stay in a moment longer? And what would that look like? And what would happen if you didn't have to change the sonic texture to move because you put a pad right behind the song? Was there a few different things that you could do? And we had 2 phrases that we wanted to keep throughout the whole of this. And one was stay in the moment. You have seen that teaser. We want worship leaders to be able to stay in the moment, because we know that when you lead worship, you're responding to what God's doing and you're responding to what's happening in the room. And sometimes it's not a case of just building your set list and delivering it, but we need the ability to go anywhere we like. And Playback has done so much of that for us for so long, but we wanted to give even more ability to stay in even more moments. We also wanted to make it incredibly simple. So whilst this is incredibly complex under the hood, we wanted to make sure that it was simple enough that you could press play and it all just worked together. So I'm going to jump over to my iPad screen and give you a tour of some of the things it can do, and we're going to stack some of these features together. And here's my request: stick with me to the end of the journey, because you need to get the whole picture of how these things play together for you to fully get the concept that I'm introducing you to tonight with Pad Player. So Pad Player is here in Playback. Let's jump over to the iPad screen and let's dive in. Okay, the first thing you're going to see, for those of you that are used to Playback, is this new pad button up on the transport bar. So on the transport bar, if we press the pad button, we're instantly going to be greeted by a nice sounding pad. So let's do that first. We press pad, and you guys should be able to hear that coming through. There we go, perfect. This pad. Now I'm going to turn that off for a moment, and then I'm going to tap the faders and the buses toggle down here to take me into the Pad Player view. So now we have a live interface for Pad Player that allows us to do lots of things. Let's put a pad back in the key of B. I'm going to do that by tapping B, and the pad's going to fade in. I've got a fader control here, so I can control the volume of the fader, and I can even go and swap the sound of the pad. So I'm going to open up the pad box, and here I can choose some of the downloaded pads that I've got on my Playback device. And if I had the pads not playing, I could download any of my pads which I've previously purchased. So let's jump over to one from Core Sounds Boutique Pad Collection. Mike, I believe, is on in the chat. I saw him earlier. So let's jump over to Boutique, and it's going to crossfade from that Fundamentals pad, which is a new pad, over to this pad. Seamlessly crossfade. And let's change key. Let's go to the key of E, and that's going to crossfade from B to E. Now I might want to go inside of that pad and play with the textures a little bit. So I can press and hold the pad fader, and I can open up the individual faders that have been programmed inside of this pad, and I can mix them to my taste. And maybe I only want one of these, maybe I want 4 of these, maybe I want a mixture, but I can tailor that to my taste, and I can get that pad working. Let me press and hold the pad fader again and jump back over. Okay, let me, for fun, let's go for somewhere completely different. Let's open up ambient pads by Ben Crossan. Ben, you're also on the call. I saw you, Ben, from Nashville, Tennessee. And again, now we've got Ben's pad that greets us. Really nice to be able to fade from pads from one to another. Okay, let's do some other producer shoutouts because I can see quite a few in the chat here. So we've got Mike from Call Sounds. Mike, great to see you on here. We've got Peter James. Peter, let's open up one of your pads on here. Peter's been using this one, atmospheric ambient pads, for the last couple of weeks at Hillsong. So let's press play in the key of C this time. And if I open up Peter's faders, I'm going to pull this one down and mix it to my taste for the moment. And I think, Pete, you might be able to comment on this, but I think you've been using Air 2 or High 2 at Hillsong for the last couple of weeks, but I'm going to put a couple of these in to get that taste as well. Amazing. And again, I'm going to come back to how we can use these with songs in a moment. Let's press and hold pad. We've got also on the call tonight, we've got Sem's from Life Church Bradford, and we're going to jump to Heavily Orchestra ambient pad. And let's jump over to the key of, well, let's see where it is. And again, I can jump into Sem's pad and I can mix these faders. So you get the idea that I can jump in and out and I can start to bring in ambient pads in any key, cross-fading around them. I also saw the guys from Bottega on the call. Great to see you guys. Thank you also for joining us early morning over in Hillsong, in Sydney. And we've got Luna lined up here, which again, we can jump to the Luna pad. I think I saw Simon there, and I saw Grant on the call as well. So guys, welcome. Thanks for joining us. This is Luna. Again, really, really interesting pad, some great textures. And if this was all that we did, this would be pretty amazing. Let me turn off that pad play. If this is all that Playback could do, was just play ambient pads on this view, I think it would be pretty incredible. But we can go a lot further and we can do a lot more. Now, before I show you how we link it to songs, I want to show you this. It wouldn't be right if I didn't give you a freebie or at least some discount code. So if you wanted to go and fill your boots with ambient pads to use in Pad Player, if any of those pads you just listened to are leading you into the heavenly realms, you can go and you can use Pad Player 30, and Pad Player 30 will get you 30% off ambient pads, and that promo will expire on March 13th. So go there, fill your boots, get all the pads that you want, and you can have them ready to go with Pad Player. I'm going to jump back to the iPad for the moment. We'll show that discount code again in just a moment, but let me show you a couple of other things that this can do. If this is all, I would be impressed. But like I told you at the start, what we've actually done is we have brought in not one, but two audio engines into Playback. This is why it's taken incredible amount of programming to happen. Two audio engines inside of Playback, one playing our tracks and our click on our guide, and one playing our pads. That's incredible for an iPhone or an iPad to deliver. But what if we could make those audio engines talk to each other and the behavior of one influence the behavior of the other? I'm going to show you that in a moment. Let's load this Luna pad in the key of E by touching E. Okay, now because I have link turned on, whatever happens to my song tiles across the top here is also going to influence what happens in the pad player. But here's what's really amazing. Because they're separate audio engines, I could actually go and download a whole nother song or rent a song. I could change my entire set list and bring up my set list of response songs, or I could open up my closing songs, whatever my set list might be, because my audio engine for my pad player is going to continue playing while I download or load or change arrangements on any song. Now, if you're a worship musician, a worship director, and you just need to call an audible and change it, you can put a pad in or the band play and go and rent or download the song that you need to close out that set with. That's pretty incredible. Okay, now inside the edit menu, if I was to press the three dots, we can actually pair ambient pads to different songs. So down here, I've got a little section for pad player, and I can choose what pad I want to play, if I want to start the song with or without a pad, and if I want the pad to be just for the intro or the outro. So for Graves into Gardens, I've chosen my default ambient pad. This is a free one that comes with Pad Player. And watch what happens when I press play on Graves into Gardens. The first thing that's going to happen is it's going to change the key, then it's going to change the pad, and then it's going to count me into Graves into Gardens as smoothly as this. Here we go.
1, 2, intro, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Verse 1.
Now, I've gone from the key of E, I pressed Graves into Gardens, and because the two are talking to each other, it changed me to the key of B and counted in the song. But if for any reason I decided to go back to the key of E and I press E, what's going to happen now is it's going to fade out the tracks and leave me just with the key of E. This means you don't have to end up on worship fails. We are protecting you from car crash moments because the two are talking to each other and interacting together. Okay, let me show you a couple of other things that is new and that we've added. Let me just pause this for a moment. So not only have we introduced a pad player down the bottom that allows me to go anywhere that I want to, we've also allowed you to tie the behavior of the pad and the sound of the pad to the song. So I'm going to show you that one more time. I'm going to click edit. I'm going to click the three dots. I'm going to come down to pad player and I'm going to choose my default ambient pad. Now these are the pads that I've already got downloaded on my device, but these are all the pads that I've purchased that are in my account that I can also download. And just by tapping it, it'll download and I can connect it to my song that I want to do. So I'm going to leave it with this default one just for the moment, and I'm going to press done. Okay, so we have a live pad player. We have one that interfaces with our songs. What if we wanted to now do something interesting with our transitions? I'm going to show you some new transitions that have been added in this release of Playback to go along with the pad player. So for this example, let's have a look at the blessing. So let's open up the blessing. I've got a different ambient pad attached for this one, which I'll explain in a moment. And if I was to click my transitions menu, I get these options. I get crossfade, which you'll be familiar with. When one track fades down, the next one fades in. Overlap, so as one song finishes, the next one starts without a fade. Auto link, so that as one finishes, the next one starts. But then I've got two new transitions, which are new to Playback: stay in song and cue next song. So let's do stay in song. If I click stay in song, I can now turn on or off the pad. So at the end of the song, the pad will just continue to run, but the song tile doesn't move on, so that my pro presenter cues don't change, my lyrics don't change, my lighting doesn't change, and I can jump back into the song. I've also got cue next song, and again, I can toggle on and off continue pad, and that will allow me to do something different. But right now, let me show you crossfade, because I'm going to crossfade from the end of the blessing, and I want to go from the end of the blessing into Waymaker, and I'm going to turn off the click and guide in buses so that we can hear what the congregation would hear. Before I do that, let me answer a couple of questions which I see coming up. I've got to run. Will this be left up to view later? It should make it to our YouTube tomorrow for you to watch on YouTube. And somebody else has also asked, when will this be available? Well, I'm going to tell you all of that right at the end of this webinar and how you can get it. So I'm going to answer a few other questions about including click, but let me show you this for the moment. We're at the end of the blessing. I'm in B. I want to go to Waymaker in the key of E. I'm going to select crossfade. I've both chosen which pads I want for the song, and I'm going to let Playback do the rest. I'm going to be quiet, press play, and you can listen to this transition. So you may have heard that the pads wait ahead of the tracks there to crossfade to change key to set up the moment for us. So I'm going to stop the pad and stop the tracks a moment. Okay, let me show you another transition. At the end of Waymaker, I've chosen to stay in song but continue pad. Well, I think you get the logic by now, but let me just demo this anyway. Right at the end of Waymaker, I'm going to press play around here. We're at the very slow fading down part of Waymaker. Now listen carefully. The pad's going to carry on, but the song hasn't moved on. Now this is amazing because this means that my lyrics aren't changing, This means that my lights aren't changing. This means that my Pro Presenter's not gone anywhere. My video wall hasn't gone anywhere. And I'm still in the song and I can go wherever I want to. I could come back into a section of the song, or I could continue singing or playing. And because I've used a pad which is matched up with my Waymaker, I'm not breaking the moment. Okay. That leads me on to a really interesting point of mixing different pads with different songs. So for a while, some of us were in this lockdown environment because of COVID. Some of us still are. Some of us have a bit more freedom to go back to churches. And we were often faced with the challenge of how we lead worship in maybe a slightly more stripped down environment. Well, right now we could do something really interesting, because I could go into Waymaker and I could strip out all of the parts that I don't want, but add an ambient pad in with the click and the guide, and suddenly I've got like a new sounding version of Waymaker. I could chop up the arrangement and make it completely different, then save that arrangement to always be the version that I wanted it to be. Or maybe I want to completely change the sonic texture of the song, so I pair it with a completely different pad from Bottega or Core Sounds or from Ben, Sam or Peter, and then I can give a completely different inflection on the song. And it sounds nothing like the original because I've stripped out some of the tracks and I've added an ambient pad in. Or maybe I want to take a song-specific pad that is matched perfectly to the song so that it can sit there as well. I've seen a few questions in the chat around this idea of continuing the click. You can continue the click. What we're going to show you a little bit later on is how you set up a pad with an ambient pad with a click, and how we can do a auto link between the two. And in a future version that's coming out of this, we've improved that audio engine so that that transition is almost instant. So I will show you a precursor of that a little bit later on in the webinar. Okay, let me show you this transition. This is the transition I haven't shown you yet. So this is a transition which is cue next song, continue pad. And this is really interesting because I'm using the song here, Believe for it. But because I haven't rented this song yet, I've got the click and guide for this song. So I don't know if you're aware of this, but if you have the most basic level of our Cloud Pro, you will get the click and guide for every song available in our catalog. That's like 14 or 15,000 click and guides. So an incredible way to onboard my team, an incredible way for me to practice the song, or to build a set list without spending a rental credit. So in this environment, I've got Believe for it in the key of G, and I've paired it with ambient pad loops from Ben. And what's going to happen here is I'm going to wind to the end of the song because I don't want you to listen to 8 minutes of just a click and a guide. So we're going to go right to the end of the song here. I'm going to press play. And what's going to happen is you're going to hear Ben's pad in the key of G. And I've chosen to go to What a Beautiful Name, but I've chosen to load the next song but not play it and just load the pad. So it's going to go ahead of me to change the pad and change the key, but not start the tracks. Let's have a listen. So here's the pad in G. When you get to the end, crossfade, the What a Beautiful Name pad in D, and when the crossfade finishes, this will line up. And now I could go anywhere that I want to and start playing this song, or even just start it from the beginning. And I'm into What a Beautiful Name. This, again, is an incredible transition for me to go ahead, set up the key of the next song, load all the lyrics, the cues, anything else that I need loaded, but not start the song, and maybe I could sing the chorus or the bridge and then press play. Okay, I think I've shown you quite a lot so far, but I want to show you something now which is an absolute game changer to the way that I lead worship and to what I've been able to do. And this is called Song Section Pre-Roll. To get Song Section Pre-Roll, you come into Settings, and inside Settings, you open up Song Section Pre-Roll and you turn on this toggle called Song Section Pre-Roll. And then if we come back to the song, let me demo it with Waymaker. I don't know if you've ever been in this scenario where you want to practice with the band, but you want to start just at the chorus. So we're going to go into chorus. And normally what I would do is I'd line up the chorus, I'd wind it back a measure, and I'd press play so that we get the count in and that the band can jump straight into chorus. Well, we don't need to do that anymore. Whenever we line up the line with the start of any of the sections, we're going to get a 1-bar count in. So let's do a 1-bar count in on Waymaker. Actually, let me turn on the clicking guide so you can hear the 1 bar counting for Waymaker. It's in my buses, there we go. Let's do the 1 bar counting for Waymaker. Turn the pad off a moment. And here we go.
Chorus 2, 3, 4.
And we can do that in any section of any song. So again, 1 bar counting for, let's go and do a completely different song. Let's do a 1 bar counting to the bridge of Graves into Gardens.
Bridge 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
A nice easy way of getting into a song in rehearsal, but if we take this feature and lay it on top of Pad Player, we can come up with some really incredible transitions. So let's go back to our scenario of going back to the end of Believe For It. So we're right at the end of Believe For It, we press play, the pad goes ahead of us to cue up What a Beautiful Name, and now we're in the pad of What a Beautiful Name. I'm going to turn off the clicking guide so that you can hear what the congregation will hear. And maybe I've led that moment. Now I'm going to go down to the instrumental, the nice piano-led instrumental, and I'm going to press play. And what should happen now is all of the tracks, and I'm going to put it on track for you so you can watch, are going to fade in over that 1 bar measure with the clicking guide in my ear and lead us in. Here we go. Ready? I hope you got that. That just blew me away when I saw this. We can do this in any section of any song. So let's do that again with a different section of What a Beautiful Name, but this time with the clicking guide in so that you can hear what the band are hearing. Let's put in the pad in the key of D. Let's open up one of those big bridges and let's press play again. I've just chosen any bridge, but let's press play and let's watch all the faders come in as it counts us into the bridge. One more time so you can hear it with the clicking guide.
Bridge 2, 3, 4.
Now, we could, if we needed to, for whatever reason, bail from the track by pressing fade. And when we press fade, it's going to fade down our tracks, but leave us with just the ambient pad. Then I could pause the tracks, line up the section that I want to go to. So maybe I want to go back to one of the verses, verse 2 this time, cue up verse 2 and press play.
Verse 2, 2, 3, 4.
So hopefully you see just how incredible song section pre-roll is when it's added to Pad Player. Now, again, if you have any experience of doing this in a DAW, you'll know just how difficult this is. You could maybe prepare for one transition like this with time, but to do it for any transition anywhere on the timeline. So I'm going to have a drink and I'm going to let Russell recap in this video section pre-roll just so you can see it. Here we go.
With song section pre-roll enabled, you can scroll to the beginning of any song section in any song, press play,
Bridge
and a 1
2,
bar count-off
3,
will lead
4.
into the section while automatically fading in the tracks. Enable song section pre-roll in Settings. Scroll to the start of any song section and press play
Bridge
to trigger the
2,
1 bar
3,
count-off.
4.
Combine this feature with Pad Player to reprise any song without breaking the moment. With Stay in Song and Continue Pad enabled as the transition, the Pad Player will continue to play after a song ends. Scroll back to any section you would like to reprise, press play, and the tracks will slowly fade back in as your
Bridge
band
2,
receives a
3,
count-off into
4.
that section. Song Section Pre-Roll is available with the Playback Premium subscription.
Song section pre-roll was one of those features that when we got right and you just sat there were high fives in the room, we were all cheering because that's the tool we've wanted for years to lead worship, but needed to build it the right way to do so. The possibilities here are endless. I want to show you a couple more things in here and then I'm going to ask for any questions, and then round up with a couple of thoughts. You may have noticed that there's a link button in here. Let me go back to Pad Player so you can see. There's a link button here. Now, link button is that safety button that means that it's going to always make sure that you are linked from the set list to the pad player, and the behavior of one impacts the behavior of the other. Now, if you're brave, or if you have good music theory way better than I do, you might want to take link off. When you take link off, the two operate as completely different apps inside of Playback. So you could have two keys playing at once if you were that crazy, or you knew your relative keys and transitions. You could do that yourself. But you could also do it for other things, like let's say we're in What a Beautiful Name and we've got that pad in D, and we want to then move to the same key but a pad, the same pad but a different key. We could do that, so we could press move to a different pad, all in unlinked mode. We could then start a completely different song like Believe For It on top of that. And because we're unlinked, the behavior of Believe For It isn't going to override the pad that we're in.
4.
Now, the minute I touch link, it's actually going to jump back to the pad that we chose for Believe For It. And if the key had changed, it would change the key as well. So the link button is there, and it allows you to do a few things. I think most of us will probably leave link on most of the time because it does the hard work for us. But it's there in case you wanted to do so. Okay, I want to show you one other incredible addition that's in this version of Pad Player. And there's a few, but let me show you this one. If we were to go into the three dots for King of Kings, and we choose which ambient pad we want to, you will notice that at the top I've got default ambient pad, and I've also got song specific pad. Song specific pads have been built by our team to match the song. So it's the pad from the song, and it's been designed to match. Now, you may well choose that you want to pair it with any pad that you've purchased in your library to give it a completely different sound. Or you might choose to use song specific pad. Now, this song specific pad, I'm going to call them song pads from now on because I have a bad lisp. This song pad is tied just to this song. So it'll only come down with King of Kings. I won't be able to use it anywhere else. And it's unlocked by having the plus tier of Cloud Pro. If you have that tier of Cloud Pro, we will deliver the song specific pad for any of the ones that we have the pads for. Out of the gate, that's about 300 pads, and the top 100 pads are covered. And what that gives you the ability to do is fade in and out of tracks and sound like the tracks haven't gone anywhere because the pad is still around. So let's have a look at this example for King of Kings. Let's open up King of Kings, and if I press play, all we're going to hear is the pad, and it's very close to the pad, if not identical to the pad, for King of Kings. And again, I could use that with section pre-roll now to jump into this chorus, and the moment just feels like I'm able to stay in the moment.
2, 3, 4.
But then inside that moment, I might want to change to a completely different pad. So I might want to open this up and give it a completely different inflection by jumping over to one of Core Sounds pads, and it's going to crossfade into the pad, into there, and you get a completely different sound. Maybe I want to do that again, but this time do it with atmospheric ambient pads. And as we go to verse 3.
Verse 3.
And then as soon as I hit Pad Player and I jump back to Link, I can bring it back to that ambient pad, crossfade, back to that ambient pad, back to King of Kings. So you get the idea. So song-specific pads or song pads are an incredible way of filling out your pad library as well. And you can go and check out Cloud Pro, and the Plus tier unlocks all of those pads, and you can get a 30-day free trial and gain access to those pads, and they will appear right here in the song tile for any of the songs which we have them for, and you'll be able to add that. We've also added a new default ambient pad called Fundamental, and the familiar guitar pad that's been free for quite some time is still free, and that's still in there as well. Okay, I'm going to answer a couple of questions which I've seen in the chat. So Ben asked this great question. Let me jump back to this part of my broadcast. 1 second. Ben asked this question, and he said, can you send the pads from separate output of the tracks? Ben, yes, you can. Let me show you how you do that. If you were to come over into settings and navigate to buses, you'll see there is a new bus here called pad. I only have 2 outputs available to me at the moment, but I could route that pad bus to an independent output that would then arrive at the sound desk on its own channel, so the sound guy could mix that in and do that as well. We're also going to do a refactor of a whole bunch of our ambient pads just for this release to level out some of the volumes between all of the pads, so right out the gate they're going to be much more similar in volume for you as well. There was another question I saw in here about hardware compatibility. 2 engines equal more horsepower needed. This is a great question. David, thank you for it. This is really interesting, and this is one of the reasons why I'm doing this webinar tonight, is because Pad Player will be available for you guys to get hold of as of today if you come and join our Ring 2 beta group. So we have a couple of different rings of beta testers. I think I call them beta and you call them beta. But anyway, beta testers. And those guys are incredible because they help us put pressure on top of our build. They test it at the rehearsals, they test it on the Sundays, and we give it to Ring 2 when we feel that it's doing pretty good. And then we ask our testers to fill in a weekly report to let us know how it's doing for them. This is what's interesting in our test so far, is 2 audio engines has not equaled more horsepower needed. In fact, it's taken some of the strain off the existing audio engine, and we found that it's still compatible across all of the devices that we currently support. We'd love you guys to check this out and to try it out. And at the end of this, I'm going to throw up a link where you can go and register to be a beta tester. Okay, let's have a look. Are there any other questions that have come in that I need to answer? So if I'm beta testing I should be good. Yes, you should. You should get an email within the next hour or so with a download link for this latest version. Yep, it'll still work from iPhone and as well as iPad. Pad Player works brilliantly on iPhone. Can we put the Pad Player on its own bus? Yes, you can. I think I've just shown you how to do that. There's a link to the Fundamentals pad. That's a great point. Fundamentals pad will come with Pad Player. If you want to get it before that, it's free. It's 0 credits. So you just go and add it to your cart and then check out for 0 credits and you'll be able to get that pad. Now, JP has just thrown the link in the chat and it's this one here. And it's multitracks.com/products/Pad Player. Don't do it just now because you'll miss something really important. But if you click on that link, you'll be able to go and register for one of our beta slots. Now let's have a look. How many people are currently on this webinar? 97. I have 100 slots left for beta testers in Ring 2. So I could give this free to all of you. And if you all go and do that and sign up, then the people that watch this tomorrow, sadly, will have missed out and they won't be able to get their hands on Pad Player until it comes out in a few weeks' time in general release. But if you want to help shape this, and you want to give it some weight and some testing and get an early look, jump to that website, fill out that form. We'll get back to you with the information that you need to know so that you can download your beta version of Playback. Yep, it's going to come out as a beta for beta testers first. Okay, if you have any more questions, why don't you throw them into the chat? David Dickinson, so you're going to level out the pads, but you'll be leveling out the difference in the tracks themselves. There are some songs that are pretty different. David, you're right. That's true. We get a variety of different songs from different sources with different stems, and they're not always level. There is a workaround for that currently until we solve the problem another way. And if you go into the settings on your iPad, you can actually turn on song-specific master fader. This will allow you to set the fader for each song at the required volume so you get an even output. And of course, you can send them on multiple outputs to your sound desk and you can work through that way as well. Okay, I think I've shown you everything that I need to in Pad Player. I want to do one thing. I want to show you 2 more videos. So let me show you the same video that I started with just to give you a recap. So this is the reveal video for anybody that missed it at the top of the call of Pad Player in Playback.
Playback has reinvented the way ambient pads are used so you can always stay in the moment. Introducing Pad Player in Playback. Pad Player can be used as a fully functional pad machine. Instantly transition between keys and purchase ambient pads with the tap of a finger, or let it follow you. Simply build your set list, press play,
1,
and Pad Player
2,
will automatically follow your song
intro,
keys
2,
and transitions.
3, 4.
You can customize pad behavior and even assign a unique ambient pad to each song in your set list. Pad Player also introduces a powerful new collection of song-specific pads exclusive to Playback. These pads have been uniquely crafted to match the original style of a song, so that no matter where you go in your set, Pad Player will follow you. Song Section Pre-Roll is a powerful new tool for rehearsal, as well as jumping in and out of any moment in a song during service. Scroll to the beginning of any song section, press play, and a 1-bar count-in will be triggered as tracks fade in.
Instrumental 2, 3, 4.
With Pad Player, you can plan your services with excellence and have the freedom to go where you want in the moment. Explore Pad Player in Playback at MultiTracks.com.
Well, I hope tonight's been exciting for you. There are a ton more questions in the chat that I won't get a chance to answer all of them tonight, but our team will do our best to answer some of them. And if not, reach out in the chat at multitracks.com and ask our support team, and we'd love to give you some more answers. You'll also find a whole bunch of helpful videos just around Pad Player on that link that JP put in the chat. That's multitracks.com/products/Pad Player. And you can sign up, you can watch a video, and there's a couple of other videos and highlights of how to do some different things with Pad Player. In many ways, I've just skimmed the surface tonight. Okay, 2 more things to tell you. I would love to remind you about this coupon so that you can go and get 30% off ambient pads. The promo expires on Saturday. I would encourage you to go and fill your boots. If you are a current Pad Player, you do not need to re-register. Sorry, if you're a current beta tester, you do not need to re-register. You'll get an email shortly and you will be all good to go. Okay, it wouldn't be a product reveal keynote if I didn't get the chance to say something like one more thing. I know a few of you came to this webinar hoping to see something maybe different than Pad Player. So my one more thing tonight is this.
Playback for Mac. Coming soon from MultiTracks.com.
Playback is coming to Mac very, very soon. We are also looking for beta testers that might be able to help us test Playback for Mac. If you would like to be one of those testers, here is the link. It's www.multitracks.com/products/Mac. I'm sure that one of the guys will throw that in the chat in a moment, and you can go and you can register to test Playback for Mac when it comes out in just a matter of days, maybe a week, who knows. It's going to be there super soon. Go and check it out. We would love for you guys to check out Playback for Mac and put that through some of its paces as well. There we go, JP. Thank you for posting the link. We'll probably pin that to the chat if we can so that you guys can do that. Join the beta team. We will deliver that for you, and that will be incredible. That's so good. Should we just watch that video one more time? Let's just play this once more.
Playback for Mac. Coming soon from MultiTracks.com.
Couldn't be more excited about Pad Player or Playback for Mac. I hope that tonight has been fun, this afternoon's been fun, that you've learned some new things about the way that we might be able to use these tools to lead worship better, to create moments where people can encounter God more easily. I would really encourage you to jump on the Playback for Mac iOS version. We would love for you to check that out. And then down the line, you can check out Playback for Mac. Playback for Mac, we are going to keep adding functionality to, and as you guys continue to test it, we'll refine that product so that it can be all that it can in that playback environment. Guys, it's been a ton of fun hanging out with you tonight. I would love to answer any questions that you might have. Throw them in the chat. We'll hang around for a little bit longer. You'll be able to watch this webinar tomorrow on YouTube and share it with the rest of your team. And We've got 99 people left watching, so all 99 of you can have a copy of Playback for Mac if you go and join up on that on that link that's in the chat tonight. Until we get to chat together again, God bless. Take care. It's been a ton of fun. Good night.